Hello, I'm Brita, Webmistress of the Dark. Today I'm going to show you how to assemble my Frightful Skull Fountain Kit that is now for sale, available on EerieElegance.com. So the first thing you need is a plastic cauldron. You can try and attach this to something else, but I've designed it for one of these cheap plastic cauldrons you find everywhere around Halloween season. Hey, and they're even made in the USA now. What about that? So you want to look for one that's about 12 inches to 16 inches in diameter. That's how I've made the kit. It looks the best with the skull sticking out. And try and make sure you find one with a wide lip around here, because you'll need to be cutting into that to attach the handle. So now that you've got a cauldron, let me show you what's all available in the kit. Make sure you've received everything that comes included with your Frightful Skull Fountain Kit. So you have a plastic skull funnel that I've already pre-drilled holes in the nostril. He comes with his full length. He's already attached to a black handle grip with a placeholder to keep it the right size. You also get a resin skeleton hand that I've hand painted to try and match your skull. You also have the U-shaped wire that's going to attach to your skeleton hand to your cauldron. We have a brand new pump with an extra connector in case you want to use different tubing later. And the original tube we're going to use is already attached to 3 feet of vinyl tubing that I've included for you. Then what holds it all together is this custom cut cauldron handle support. So that's everything that should come in your box. Now you will also need a very sharp box cutter, because you need to get through that thick cauldron plastic. You need some chalk so that you can mark but remove it off the black later, and you need some heavy duty scissors to cut your funnel. Now that we've got everything, we can start assembly. So you actually get a full 24 inches of cauldron handle that I've cut for you. It actually splits at the ends, so actually it creates a nice Y support, which is very sturdy, so it keeps the skull from sloshing around when it's full of liquid. So you might not want the whole 24 inches. You might want it a little bit shorter so your skull doesn't stick up quite as far out of the cauldron. If you're going to do that, trim a little bit off each end, and you might need to actually widen the slit a little more, just come up a little more, so that it still widens into enough Y at the bottom to support. So it depends on how much you cut off. I've cut off about 1 inch on each end and lengthened the slit as well, so I'm going to use this one to measure for my cauldron. You might need to do a little trial and error. Hold yours up with your cauldron, see what it looks like, and then decide to trim. That's what I did. So I've already marked and cut on the one side over here, and see how I have it actually spread out? Can you see that? Hopefully you can. So I'm going to give it a curve, and I'm going to go straight across the cauldron. You want it across the middle, not only toward one side, otherwise it won't support as well. So now that I know where that is, I'm going to let go of that. Take my chalk and mark approximately where those are. Just one mark on the outside. That should be okay. Now I'm going to take my box cutter. So to get through this thick plastic, it needs to be nice and sharp. So be careful. And I'm going to cut a triangle because that's easy. Make sure you don't go through all the way the lip, because you want the integrity to hold your cauldron support. So cut small at first. You can always make it bigger, but you want a nice tight fit so that your handle will stay in there all on its own with no glue. Some cauldrons are thicker plastic than others. This one's a little bit thinner than the other. The other one's really thick. Now let's see if that fits. This is the part that gets a little fiddly, because you need to get both of them in, and sometimes they don't want to cooperate. Okay, both of them are in. There, you can see they're both in. It gives you a nice Y, which makes it stable from rocking either direction. So that's one side. You've cut the holes for your handle support. So go ahead and do the same thing with the other side. Cut the holes, which I already did here. go ahead and fit your handle. Make sure you don't get the split part twisted. Sometimes it wants to twist. Once you get it in there tightly, you're not going to be able to lift up your cauldron by this handle, so fair warning, because it's just stuck in there. But the stress involved actually makes it so it's not going to rock forwards or backwards, which is exactly what you need to support the skull fountain. So that part is done. On to the next step. Next, we're going to keep going with the box cutter and find which edge is the back. I think this is the front, so I'm going to turn around for this to be the back. And I usually just make it middle back versus the handle. You need to actually make somewhere for your power cord to come out for your pump that's inside the cauldron. So I tried my first drafts of these projects with it coming out the bottom, and I had problems with leaking no matter how much I siliconed it. I still don't like it. You can see it coming out of the lip of the cauldron, so what I've done is put a little slit, and then you widen the slit so that your cord has enough room. So let me show you how to do that. So all I do, middle back is close enough. So I make just a plain slit all the way through from the edge and come all the way down underneath the lip. And then once you're underneath the lip, go ahead and widen into a little triangle. Triangle that's large enough for the power cord to come through. So let's check that. Might need to be a little bigger. Oh, that's a pretty good fit. There we go. So I don't widen the slit so that can come back together, and you hide the fact that you're sticking a cord through the back. And now you can plug in your cord safely. It's above the liquid level so that it helps against any drips trying to go down the power cord. So now that part's done. Okay, now that we've cut our slit for the power, I'm going to turn it back around again so we have it facing front. And now we're going to measure how long we need to cut the vertebrae off our skull funnel. So I'm going to leave it in there for now because I want to just hold it up. Now I'm not holding it on top because that'll be a little shorter because we're going to work with this in a little bit, but just hold it at the same height. And so reach down. You're not going to need a lot of length because it's going to hide in the depths of your punch. No one's going to see how long down it goes. And you want it probably one vertebrae above where it's going to hit your pump so you have easier access for attaching the pump connector. So I've now holding it right where I want it, and let me take my scissors and I'll just go ahead. This is pretty easy to cut, so I just use some heavy duty scissors and it cuts right through. There, now you have extra spine for whatever you'd like to use it for. And now you might need to stretch this out a little to make it bendy, to make it go straight, but it actually relaxes pretty easily. So there's how tall my vertebrae is going to be for my skull. Next step. Okay, now take the piece of vinyl tubing. You have 3 feet, and I've already attached the connector that we're going to be using because it's the small one, so it fits into this tube because this tube fits through the skull. So this is the end that goes into your pump, out the top of your pump. So go ahead and make it a tight fit all the way in and feed the other end through the bottom of the neck of the funnel because you want to make sure that the connector stays in the bottom. So go ahead and feed it through. Now you have 3 feet of the vinyl, so you should have plenty, and if you have exactly enough to do 2 chunks, then you have a whole spare tube for later. Maybe the one gets dirty, you haven't been able to clean it as much as you'd like. So this can get a little caught on the vertebrae there, And then there's a smaller hole in the skull, so you have to kind of keep working at it until it finally goes through. It will eventually, because I know it fits. You just have to hold your mouth right, talk to it nicely, maybe use some gravity. So it's right there. Because of course I did this before the shot and it worked fine. There we go. Now I came through. Now go ahead and got enough to pull, that's easier. So now pull all the way so you have only a little bit out the bottom, enough to reach your pump. Leave that much there. Now you have all this extra, so depending on how far you want it to come out the top. Now if you notice, what I've done is I have cut already some holes in the nostrils, so it's actually going to make more of a fountain. If you tried to use the teeth or leave it all the way up to the head, it kind of just dribbles down his face. So that's what I've done for you, is cut these. That's the best I've figured out. So I don't want it very tall, because you're never going to fill your skull up to higher than that level. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this tubing at about that same level, so it'll bubble up out of the top. You can pull it a little bit up so you know where to cut. Now this tubing cuts with normal heavy-duty scissors as well. Just like that. So there's the extra. Save it for later or some other project. And now we have enough to put in our pump. We're not quite ready for the pump yet. First, I want to show you how to attach the hand. Now I've bent this little wire U support for you and given you a hand. Now all I ever found were left hand, so you're gonna have to stick it out of the left side of your cauldron, sorry. But that's what we're gonna do. So this is just a piece of wire. All you need is the two holes coming out of the cauldron, and it's gonna sit in there and hang on with gravity. So just place it. Do you want it straight out the front? Do you want it a little off to the sides? Remember, this is where our handle is. I've removed it so it's easier to work with right now. So I think this is probably a good enough spot. So I'm going to test fit where that approximately is going to go. Your chalk might be helpful again, so you can see where it is. So I'm going to take the hand out just so I can mark roughly where these little ones are going to go. Okay. So I'm going to very, very, very carefully use the box cutter, but you're probably going to want to use a pin to start with, like a push pin, because you want to make sure it's a tight fitting hole again. So I'm going to just very carefully make a little slit. Make a little cross without cutting it away, and that might be just enough we need to stick our wire through. There we go. And how I've pre-bent the ends of the U for you. So I put them in this way so that when you put it back up, it actually gives it some support that way. So now you should be able to stick the hand in, a little twist, and there it is reaching out of your cauldron. Okay, now we have cut our skull funnel to the correct height. We have cut our vinyl tubing to the right length, and we have threaded it through the skull. We have cut our cauldron handle support to the right length and cut the holes in the cauldron lip to support the cauldron handle support. We have added the hand, and we have made the slit in the back for the power cord to escape. I think we are finally ready to assemble it all together. So, if you notice, I provided your skull with this extra little dealy bobber under his chin. Now this is what I call the handle grip, because it actually looks like the little decorative grip you can see on cauldron handles. I've also put another placeholder piece inside of it. That's so it holds its shape during shipping before you add it to the cauldron handle support. And don't worry if it jiggles around a little bit. What matters is, does it go this way? So it's just a screw in there to support that. So we make sure your tubing doesn't fall out. Keep a hold on that one there. so it doesn't fall out on you. Take your cauldron handle and go ahead and put the ends together again and slide the placeholder through so you can actually put your skull on the handle. Don't worry about that. You can keep it for later if you want to store your skull this way off of the handle, but it's probably going to be easier just to leave them on the handle. So get them about in the middle. You can adjust them when you put them on the cauldron. Keep your tubing in there. Put them back together on your cauldron into the holes. So this can be a little tricky. 2, almost 3, and so close. Yeah, of course the last one's always a pain. Okay, there, we've got them on. Okay, that's pretty sturdy. Now you can go ahead and scoot them to the center. That looks pretty good. Okay, so our tube's still in there, you can see. I had it kind of stuck the edge. We still got our hand on. Okay, I have already put the pump in here. You can see it's actually, the cord is out the back. The pump is down there. Now take the tubing and take the other end, the black connector, and stick it into the top hole on the pump. And it should be a snug fit. Make sure your pump is actually as close to the bottom as possible. Give the power cord some slack. Okay, and our hand is still in place. Okay, he looks pretty good. Now, is he going to work as a fountain? I already have water in here, so I didn't have to waste, screen time filling it up with water. You need to make sure that the water level is at least just over the pump, because this pump cannot run dry. It will actually burn out the pump. So I've got enough water in there that now I can plug it in and we'll see how it works. There we go. There we have a frightening skull fountain. He's already coming out there. I did put his little red in there. It's not just water. The instructions that come with your kit include some suggested recipes as well as safe dry ice handling techniques to get this cool fog effect for your fountain. So there you have Frightful Skull Fountain. You can buy the pieces as a kit from EerieElegance.com and add it to your own cauldron. And this is how you put it together. I hope you've enjoyed watching today. Have a fantastic Halloween and happy haunting!